Zero Mark here, event preview time for the Honor of Ice. I did a video earlier that looked at some of the overall big changes that they've made, so this time I just want to look at what's going on in this event. They brought back Frenzy Bosses. I hope they've made a few changes, because last time Frenzy Bosses had the potential to be really good, but they were often so strong that the middle to lower level guilds had no chance of killing them at all. So I'm hoping that they've figured out a way to scale this a little bit better. I still like my idea of having the first frenzy bosses spawn at level 1, and then when you kill them, it increments up to level 25 or level 50 or something, and kill some bosses and let them level up, and so that you can reach the point where your guild can't kill them anymore, but kind of would put in a race factor, like trying to kill as many as you can in 10 minutes and just scale the rewards to match. I still think that that would make it a lot of fun. I'm curious to see what, if anything, they've done to make frenzy bosses better. But that's the only real change to the Slayer event. Let's see what this deck looks like. Remembering that the changes have juiced the base stats, but have done away with the, or made the battle skills not that great. Let's take a look at the main event card. Main event card, create 4 water power gem 4s. Not bad, 5 turn cooldown. And remember, you got this water slayer intensity, although this particular card doesn't use water slayer intensity at all. It's just a straight 4 water power gem 4s every 5 turns. So interestingly, if we look at the X13 in this particular deck, we'll see that I don't know that it's better than the main event card. As a matter of fact, it might actually be worse. Creates up to 6 water power gem 4s. That's better than 4, right? But it's at a rate of 2 plus 1 per additional 75 water slayer intensity. So if you get to the max of 300 water slayer intensity, then you'd be getting 6 water power gems every 5 turns instead of the 4 that are coming from the main event hero. But given the way that the relic works, and given the way that the intensity works, all of the intensity that you're getting is coming off of attacks. So on turn 1, you have 0 water slayer intensity. So then you have one turn where you power up all of the battle skills. You use the gems that are created by your relics to power up your battle skills. And on turn 2, you have an attack. So if you have, best case scenario, you have 5 Water Slayer relics. Then you have 25 intensity coming from those. And then if you have 2 of the support cards that give you 10 intensity each time they attack, you'll then have 45 intensity on turn 2. So when you're going on turn 2, you're going to be creating 2 water power gem 4s from the X13, but the main event card is going to be creating 4. And you're getting, in the deck that I was using that has 2 support cards and 5 of the new water intensity relics, you're getting 45 intensity every turn. So you're going to have to go every time you attack. So you're going to have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 turns, 7 turns before the X13 is going to be giving you more than 4 water power gem 4s that the main event card gives you on turn 2. And given that this is a Slayer event, and so a lot of the bosses are going to be dying really, really quick, and you want massive hits on turn 2, the main event hero is actually better than the X13 on turn 2. Let me say that again. For this deck, for some reason, the main event hero is actually better than the X13 in a short fight. In a longer fight, eventually, the 6 water power gem 4s coming from the X13 is going to be better, of course. But it's going to take a while to build up that intensity, especially given the way that intensity works in this deck. So let's go and look at, see where you're going to be, the only place you're going to be able to get this Water Slayer intensity from, other than the relic. And that's from this support card, which down there in its passive says passive Water Slayer intensity on attack. So it's only when it attacks that you get the intensity by 10. So if you have turns where you're not, where you're kind of wasting turns in between waiting for skills to cool down, you're not going to be building up intensity. The battle skill, again, not that great a skill. Heals for 2,000% recovery, 3 turn cooldown. Okay, but that's the only heal in this deck. So if you're going to be in a battle for a longer period of time that you're going to need heals in it, then you're going to need to include 1 or 2 of these just for the heal, and then also for the intensity buildup. Because if you don't have any of the current water intensity, the new water intensity relics, there aren't any historical ones. So the only way right now to get Water Slayer intensity is from this card. But you don't need it for the main event hero. You only need it for the X13. So if you're just using main event heroes, then you might not need as many of these cards in it. We looked at the main event card already, so let's look at the ultra rare. The ultra rare in this deck creates 5 water gems every 3 turns, and then increases water attack by 44% for 2 turns. That's 60% for 2 turns at 6-star. So it's 15% plus 15 per additional 100 Water Slayer intensity. So when you get the Water Slayer intensity to 300, which is the max, then you're getting a 60% attack boost for 2 turns. That's a low percentage as far as attack boosts go. It's not the greatest attack boost in the world. But keep in mind, you're boosting massively increased base stats, and oh, by the way, down here you have this empowered water. Heroes empowered and does 10 times damage against fire enemies instead of standard 2 times. So you're going to get a huge boost from that. So overall, this deck has pretty terrible battle skills, but that's kind of the way that they've designed this deck. High base skills, high multipliers, and that are high base stats, high multipliers, but not very good battle skills. So putting this together, I think you're going to want as many of main event heroes as you can get, because they're going to be the ones that are pumping out power gems. You're going to want some support cards for the heal. You're going to need an ultra rare if you want any water gems. The one good thing about this deck is that if you look at the main event hero and you look at its leader skill says 400% damage and HP for all Water Slayer heroes. Oh, whoops, that's guild versus guild. I meant the support hero. Support hero's leader skill. 300% damage and HP for all Water Slayers. So you can use previous Water Slayer heroes and still get the damage and HP boost from this one. So you can go back and find old Water Slayer gem creators and stick them into this deck and still get decent damage out of them. You're not going to get that crazy 10 times empowered damage from them, but you could still get decent hits from them. And you're going to need that because the only source of water gems is the ultra rare, and you're only getting 5 every 3 turns, which isn't really enough to do much of anything. So I'm thinking if you're putting this deck together, my ideal deck would probably be 3 main event cards and 1 support and 1 ultra rare. But you might have to play around with it, because if you're in a longer battle, you might need additional healing, which means you might need 2 support cards. You're also probably going to need some sort of water gem creator from some other blue deck, because there's no real good water gem creator in this deck. So it is good in the sense that you're going to have to kind of mix and match to make something, I think, that works really well. But overall, this deck is hugely underwhelming in terms of skills. Like, the skills are just terrible. But it's got all of these boosts that could make it just do huge damage. That 10 times against fire is just enormous. So we'll have to see how this kind of plays out, and hopefully that if this is the way that they keep doing things, that they actually keep this up for several cycles, and 20, 30 weeks from now, when we have 2 or 3 Water Slayer decks, that we'll be able to actually put some things together and build some stuff that might be interesting. But since this is the first one, it's kind of underwhelming skills-wise, but kind of overwhelming damage modifier-wise. I think it'll be an interesting event just to see how this deck and this new deck style plays out. So I'm looking forward to it, seeing how Frenzy Bosses work and seeing how this new deck strategy works out. I hope that you guys have fun playing the Honor of Ice event this week for Legendary Game of Heroes. Until next time.